Ottiglio is a global health policy expert and managing director of High Lantern Group, joining us from Geneva. So, Mario, Russia has for a long time been a top source of misinformation, a top exporter to the rest of the world of misinformation. So, to what extent would you say that bad information is playing a role in the low numbers of vaccinations that we are now seeing in Russia? And to what extent is that playing into this alarming rise in cases?
Thank you for the question and good afternoon. Well, I mean, hesitation is an obvious challenge now that we have grabbed all the low-hanging fruits, which is basically the early adopters and the people who sought the vaccine. But to address hesitation, we should not fall into a trap of creating, categories of citizens like vaccinated and not vaccinated. Misinformation is definitely what is driving a lot of the skepticism and the no-vax movement, but and then leads towards hesitancy. But if we want to win hesitancy, we need to remain quite open-minded in how we make laws and communicate. Misinformation will always be there, but we also know that not all skeptics are no-vaxxers. So, you have the most hardcore ones where misinformation is really playing a big role. But then you also have vaccine skeptics, you have COVID vaccine skeptics, and you have people that are just taking the time to understand the data and the impact and trying to make an informed choice. For the governments there is a need to nuance and to be able to communicate with each of these groups and to create policies against misinformations, but that are actually not, trying to just throw science, right? But explain and actually make sure that they are able to tailor all the messages and the regulations towards these different groups. I think that would be a consideration here.
One of the things we mentioned, making news in Russia, is the ability of people to buy fake certificates, that there's now this big market that's formed over that. But we're now in a world where the rules can be vastly different, not only from one country to the other, but within municipalities, and where people's livelihoods are on the line. So we're also seeing this kind of fake certificate show up in Germany, on the dark web. I myself once got a PCR test where the doctor said, well, what date do you want me to write on it? So this is the kind of thing that's likely to be going on all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah, and you said it correct. I mean, this is not just a Russian issue; it's happening everywhere. We have seen reports basically from nearly a lot of countries. Look, I mean, there are a couple of things here, right? We have heard stories of QR codes being misused by anti-vaxxers to spread misinformation. Basically, you go there, you scan a code that you believe giving you some, tested information, verified information, and then you end up on strange websites. Or hackers are stealing important data, personal data, when you use your COVID apps, and we're all this has become part of a routine. Look, technology will eventually fix it, but once again, I think here we need to ask why. So why there is a market, why there is, people are seeking for those certificates, why they are trying to go around the system. And so, it's again a policy thing, right? Policies need to be coherent. They need to look at the needs of all categories. Also, there should be alternatives, right, for people that cannot get a vaccine or they don't want to take yet a vaccine, so that these alternatives are accessible logistically. So it's easy to get tested. It's easy, to kind of take your time, but also financially. Sometimes we have seen reports where people were saying, look, I mean, I have to fake this because I cannot afford the test. So I think, if we take all these measures, this will incentivize the people not to look for these solutions and also maybe drive up the trust and the vaccine uptake.
Great information. Thank you, Mario.